Today, we're going to talk about the 10 best practices you need to follow to assemble an exciting and effective high school football coaching staff. Stay tuned. Coaches, welcome to Spin It to Win, Learn and Grow. This is Coach Coltharp coming to you again. In today's video, we're going to talk about putting together your very first high school football coaching staff as a newly hired head coach. I've had an opportunity to do this a few times. Each time was very different. It's not what you see on TV most of the time or in the newspapers or on the internet where people say, I'm going to bring in XYZ people and things like that. Generally speaking, you get stuck with what's at the school, and then you can bring one or two coaches. So today I'm going to show you, what my experiences are and what I've learned to be some of the best practices in putting this staff together to make it effective, exciting, and just overall fun to be with, because that's important, because these are the people you're going to be spending more time with than just about anybody in your life. And hey, listen, if this is the kind of content you like, man, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, help us grow, drop a like on the video if you want to help us build this community like we had with the other channel. And all that being said, let's jump in the video. All right, coaches, here we go. Like we were saying in the intro, you got your job, and now it's time to put your staff together. I've done videos on the other channel talking about what you do in the first 30 days and stuff like that. So if you want to check that out, go over to One Back Football and search that. You can see the video I did a couple of years ago on that one. But you got the job, now what? And I think it's really, really important that you understand that in real life, especially in high schools, very rarely are you going to get an opportunity to go in, clean the cupboard, and bring anybody you want to bring in. It just doesn't happen that way. And a lot of times you may have to take what you get and develop your staff into what you need. I know a lot of guys who love having young coaches that they can mold and get, turn them in, especially if you got a young guy maybe played in college. I tell you, some of the best ones I've been around are those guys that played like D3 ball, and now they're teaching and wanting to coach and just have a wealth of knowledge and desire. I always wanted coaches who wanted to be head coaches on my staff, and I've been fortunate to have 10 or 11 of the guys that I've worked with in the past become head coaches, and it was all because they had that initial drive to want to do things that way. Always talk with your admin about potential teaching openings. I used to meet the principals all the time, and I would say to them, listen, don't promise me you're going to hire somebody. Just promise me that if a position opens, you'll give me an opportunity to bring you a coach that's certified that you'll talk to. And generally, if you have a good relationship with your principal, that's gonna happen. And so I think that's really, really important. All right, so what do you do when you put your staff together? The first thing you got to do is you got to make sure everybody on your staff understands your vision and philosophy. What are your core beliefs going to be? Your culture, your goals, philosophy. You want every assistant should be reinforcing these things. So it's very important that when you meet with people that you want to hire or that are going to be a part of your staff, that you express this to them, so that there's no misconceptions about which way the program is going to be run and what's going to be important to the program, because you are now the head of it and you're steering the bus. You want to prioritize character and leadership. Look for coaches who are role models, good teachers of the game. They have some integrity about them, responsibility. A guy that shows up 5 minutes late to the meeting all the time with an excuse, or they miss practice or workouts in the summertime, without talking to you about it. That's just not something that you want to be around, because it gives the kids the wrong idea of what's acceptable. You want somebody who can motivate players. And a lot of times, especially if you're at a small school, you're going to have a group of guys that maybe coach other sports, which is important, because then that brings those guys into the fold as well. Complementary skill sets, guys who can do things that you can't. Diversity in skill sets is key. If you're a good offensive guy, you want to try to find a good defensive guy, etc., and vice versa. Guys, who are specialists in areas, like offensive strategy, defensive schemes, special teams, those kind of things. You want to have a guy who's a strength and conditioning guy. I know some guys who think, I'm the head coach, I need to be in the weight room, when the best weight room guy maybe is not you. And that's where you have to let go and say, all right, I'm going to let so-and-so run the weight room because he knows it so much better. and I'm gonna pop in and out and see how that goes. So I think that's really, really important. You want each one to bring in a unique expertise. If you're having to do everything, what do I need you for? So you want guys who are really good at certain things, and then here's the key: as the head coach, you got to let them do it. And you'll reap the benefits of that. And like I said earlier, surround yourself with people who are good at the things you aren't. I think that's very, very key. To have a complete coaching staff put together. Want to send a special shout out to our patrons over on Patreon. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do these videos because of all the software costs and things of that nature. I really appreciate your help. And if you want to join these guys as head coaches, assistant coaches, or coordinators, go over to patreon.com/spinitToWin and help us grow the community. Number 4, communication skills. How you communicate with each other is just as important with how you communicate with the players, parents, and staff. But you want guys who know how to talk to people and aren't brusque. We all worked with that one coach that, that's just how Coach so-and-so is. I mean, you want to avoid that, man, especially in today's the ease of communication, because you're liable to get a text message from a parent at any time, or email from somebody or something. So you want guys who know how to communicate. And then also, I would say this, I didn't put this in the slide, but have a process for that. If a parent contacts an assistant, do you want the assistant talking to the parent, or do you want them to say, hey, hit up Coach Coltharp and let him talk to you, especially if it's about, something like discipline or playing time or something like that. Those are the kind of things that you want to try to handle yourself. Positive communication builds trust, especially when you're talking with teachers in the building and things like that. Like I said before, each coach needs to be able to articulate the vision of the program to all the stakeholders. Well, this is what we do and this is why we do it, so on and so forth. And, that's just so big, as you being able to communicate not only to your players and the community, but to your coaches, so that your coaches can reinforce that. There's only one steering wheel on a car for a reason. And if everybody's trying to pull it in different directions, it's just going to crash. And you don't want that. You want everybody driving in the same direction. And like I said, talking with teachers is so important. Just because, that helps. It helps everywhere. It helps in classroom defense. It helps, especially when the teachers are on your side, academically. Problems in the classroom, they'll get you to let you address them before they send them to admin and things like that. So those are always important, communication lines to have good ones in the building. Leverage experience and new energy. You want to try to have a nice blend of experienced and younger coaches if you can get away with it. The older guys are going to be the ones who keep traditions alive, serve as mentors to the younger teachers. Younger teachers and coaches, and they're the ones that kind of let those young guys know, hey, this is how we do things. This is how things have been done, so on and so forth. And the younger guys are the guys that are they're so energetic and excited. I can remember my first year coaching and how excited I was to be out there and to be called coach and to be out there. And for me, it was a special treat because I was coaching with my coach. And that was just something that was really exciting for me. But I could also remember me saying, hey, let's do this, and hey, let's do that. And him looking like, yeah, okay, young boy, we get it. That's cool. And when you get your own team, you can do it like that, but we're going to do it like this. But he never said, oh, that's stupid. We'll never, he would acknowledge my ideas. And, he took some sometimes, but if it was something that was just kind of off the rail, and, he was a big 21 personnel guy, and I was always wanting to spread it out. Even back in 1999, I was like, hey, we can run no tight end, or we can do this one, because that's, when all that stuff started becoming a thing, and he just wasn't about that life. And, but he said, when you get your own team, you can do what you want. And, now we spin it to win in the air raid. So there's that. But, I think that's really, really important. Value positional experience. Have guys, when you got a guy who was a college DB, that's strong because he has high level teaching. And I will say this though, high level players don't always make great coaches. Okay. Just because you could do something at a high level doesn't mean you can teach it. So I can remember one of the first pieces of advice that was given to me by my high school head coach is that these guys can't all do what you could do. You were a Division I football player for a reason. So, you have to have patience and understand that they're not going to catch on to things or be able to perform the way that you performed as easily without teaching. So you got to understand, you got to be a great teacher. So if you got a high level guy who can also teach, he's going to make a wonderful coach. And, I give you a good example. Teddy Bridgewater down in Florida. You got a high level guy who obviously can coach, and look what happens. He wins a state championship. Obviously they're loaded with talent, but everybody down there has got players like that, or at least we're led to believe. Find a coach eager to learn. First thing my coach, first two things my coach asked me when he hired me, he said, number one, when you getting your master's, and number two, do you want to be a head coach? And, even as a young adult, he was pushing me to be better. And, but those were the first things. And as soon as I said, I want to be a head coach, he put me in charge of equipment. He put me in charge of all kind of different things, the grunt work stuff, because to be the head guy, you got to know how everything works and you got to be experienced at doing it. And so he gave me that opportunity to do that. And build chemistry among coaches. You got to work as a team. You're going to spend so much time with these guys, then you're going to get on each other's nerves and these kind of things. And so you got to find ways to bring your staff together, bring chemistry and trust amongst your coaches. I mean, I'm wearing a TaylorMade hat today because, we used to go play golf every now and then and just go out and do something away from football, which was cool. We would do things like after the game, I would bring pizza into the field house and have all the wives and kids come in, and I would feed everybody after the games, and we would just kind of have pizza and just decompress from the week and just kind of try to do something nice. But that builds chemistry, and it just, those are things that you really got to do that. And some of you guys, as a matter of fact, in the comments below, let me know what you do for this one. What are some new and fun ways to create camaraderie on your staff? I mean, do you go bowling or, Top Golf, or, do you go to House of Blues to go watch concerts? I mean, what do you do? So, give me some examples in the comments of what you or staffs that you've been on in the past that did something, and it ain't got to be something crazy extravagant or expensive, but just something that you thought was pretty cool and it brought you guys together closer as staffs. Coaches, if you're looking to help out and support and help grow the community, and you want to grow Spin It to Win, learn and grow back into the size of our other channel, one way you can do that is by going over to Amazon and checking out my book, The Effective High School Air Raid Offense 2023 edition that I wrote last year. Consider picking it up. It's a great guide to installing the basics of the air raid offense. And if you've already done it, go over there and drop an honest review. I would really appreciate it. Local connections are important. You got to understand that high schools are the lifebloods of a lot of small communities. Having coaches on that staff who have local ties can help you connect to the parents, alumni, and supporters. I mean, it's really, really important. Okay. But there's a caveat to that. Remember this: do what we've always done rule when we're retaining coaches. All right. I can't tell you how many times I've had to look at guys and say, look, man, number one, if what everybody was doing was great, I probably wouldn't be here, and then the other part is, if we do what we always done, we're going to get what we've always got. And so you got to let those coaches know, hey, listen, man, we're going to do things maybe a little bit different. Not to, piss on or anything that was done by the people before us, but obviously they weren't very successful. So where do you see that we can make some changes and have them give you some ideas of what worked and what didn't work? And I think that's important to as you bring in guys into the fold, is to say, hey, we're going to do some things different, but some of the stuff that you were doing, what worked for you and what didn't you like that you thought probably wasn't as successful. And that's a really important conversation to have as you're, keeping guys that are on staff. You want to prioritize development and growth. You got to have guys to say, hey, look, man, you got to understand, we're going to go to clinics. We're going to do some in-service. One of the first things I did when I took the college job is they had us, and we had to clinic our entire staff. So you had to get up and teach your position drill by drill to the entire staff. You had to go through the playbooks. Defensive coordinator got up and he went through the entire defense. I got up there and went through the entire offense. We had to do all that stuff with the entire group and have all those coaches ask questions and everything, so everybody had an idea about what everybody was doing. I thought that was really, really important. Film study and clinic attendance. With Huddle now, you can see how much time your assistants are watching film and so on. And look, man, 9 hours of film, of just watching it and not really paying attention is not the same as 2 hours of film when you're really studying it. So, you don't press a guy and be like, well, you only watched, 2 hours of film this week. If he only watched 2 hours of film, but his position group was knocking it out the park and everything was good, then whatever he's doing is enough. But, just make sure that your guys are watching film and know what they're doing and know what's going on. And I think that's important. I like to always say a learning staff is a winning staff. Guys that are always trying to get better, you're going to get better. You don't not get better. And then, lastly, probably the 10th thing is, promote a unified commitment to player success. It's always about the Jimmies and Joes. Okay. It's always about the Jimmies and Joes. And I'm sure there's legendary programs in each state around here, the ones in North Carolina that you're like, God, they just win constantly. And they do have players. But those players are being developed. I mean, you look at the Tarboroughs of the world and where Todd Gurley played, and you're like, well, they had guys like that. Well, I mean, they win the state championship almost every year in small ball, and that's because the coaches up there have been together for so long. They have a system that works. They develop those kids between strength and conditioning, academically, all that other stuff, and they just have a way of doing things, and that's because they put everything into the players. Okay, you don't be that coach that thinks it's all about you, because it's always going to be about the Jimmies and Joes. You should be about supporting your students' athlete to succeed on and off the field. Every coach should be like, hey, man, what's going on in math class? And the head coach told me that, this, and this. And on my discipline thing, the way I used to always like to do it is the position coach was the first person you had to talk to. If something's going on, I'd be like, hey, John, Sammy's cutting up in English class, and I had to talk to him today. Well, I wanted John during practice to reemphasize to Sammy, hey, look, man, coach told me that you was having a hard time in English class today, man. We got to tighten that up. And so they hear that from everybody, and I think that's so important. All right, so let's talk about, I know it's been a quick video, but great coaching staffs just don't happen. They're built. Whether you get to build them from brand new material or you have to repurpose what's there, I think that's important. Surround yourself with knowledgeable coaches who are player-centered. Always be about the Jimmies and Joes. Maintain traditions and build a positive experience for your players, parents, and community. We don't want those kids when they graduate to have loved their time underneath you and playing high school football. And, model these strategies we're talking about to your assistants to learn and grow into the next generation of head football coaches. Because I blinked my eyes and now I'm the old head. And it's just amazing how fast that happens. But I'm so appreciative to the mentors that showed me the ropes back in the day and continued to mentor me as I went through my head coaching journey. Coaches, thanks for stopping by today to Spin It to Win and Learn to Grow. It's growing daily, and I'm really, really appreciate it. If you'd like to help me grow the community, a free way to do that would be to drop a like on the video, maybe subscribe, turn your notifications on so that you can see other videos like this one. And then, as always, we're going to spin it to win, learn to grow so that you can become the coach your players deserve.